Okay, it's just about 2 o'clock, so I guess we'll get started. My name is Scott Goldstein. I'm the web librarian at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina. Thank you for joining us in this final track of our virtual conference. We know it's been a long day, but we appreciate you hanging in there with us. Your participation makes this conference what it is. Today, we're joined by Lee Richardson and Barbara Roshen-Renner from UNC Chapel Hill. They'll be discussing how an inquiry from a high school student about librarianship as a career led them to gather resources on an interesting topic that had previously been, at least to some extent, neglected. Their presentation is entitled, "So You Want to Be a Librarian, Attracting Teens and College Students to the Profession." So if you all are ready, I'll just turn it over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Scott. I'm going to be sharing my screen, and thank you for joining us. I see we've got a small crowd here. So we've got some interactive pieces. We'll see how that works with just a couple of people. So I hope everybody can see the presentation slide there. If not, please use your chat feature and let us know something's wrong. As Scott said, my name is Lee Richardson, and I'm here with my colleague, Barbara Renner. Barbara is going to be monitoring the chat feature, and she may chime in here and there if she wants to make a comment. She's already sent out a couple of URLs in the chat box for you. Barbara and I both work at the Health Sciences Library at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And as Scott said, we're going to talk a little bit about a project involving a high school student who came to us and wanted to know more about being a librarian and library career. And before we get going, you see there, all of the slides have images on them. Most of those images are from a guide that we created. In case you're wondering, what do those little book trucks have to do with anything? And the answer is not so much anything to do with this slide, but it's something that's in our guide that we are going to be looking at. And you also see a little orange cat who's staring at you. And that little orange cat pops up on some of our slides, and he is going to be staring at you the whole time. And so if I'm boring and you don't want to pay attention to the presentation, you can look at the little orange cat and maybe talk to him and have a nice relationship with the cat and have a totally different presentation conference experience. A little bit about how all of this got started and why we did this. Barbara is the liaison to Allied Health Sciences here, and she was contacted by a faculty member who already knew her and knew she was a librarian. This faculty member has a son who's in high school, and he wants to be a librarian. So she wanted him to have the opportunity to talk to some librarians and get more information. This young man, this was over this past summer, and this young man is now a senior in high school. He has had a little bit of volunteer experience working in school libraries and a little bit in a public library, but he wanted more than that. He wanted to talk to an academic librarian, and he really wanted information on lots of different kinds of libraries, lots of different librarians. He wanted some advice on picking an undergraduate area of study. At first, he thought maybe he would major somewhere in library science, but I think we've advised him and convinced him maybe to consider doing something else. And because he's been volunteering in his own school library, he's very interested in being a school media specialist, but he hasn't decided that for sure. And as Barbara got this request and started looking at resources and thinking about things, she asked me if I would like to participate and help her with this. And of course, I said that I would. So to keep things interesting, we're going to do a little audience response here. We have a very small group, so we'll see what happens. So you can use your raise your hand feature that's part of Zoom. So if you've ever been contacted by teens or young people, maybe college students who want to know more about being a librarian, if you would raise your hand, and Barbara is going to be helping me look at that and see if anybody is actually raising their hand. I don't know. Barbara, is anybody raising their hand? No. So Barbara is raising her hand here. You can't see her do that, but she's raising her hand. So I guess that means that maybe none of you have had this happen. Here at HSL, okay, or open the chat. You have to open the chat to raise your hand, that Barbara's telling me. So in case you didn't know how to do that. We have been contacted just a few times here over the years from a high school student or someone else who wants to know about library careers. So I don't think that happens very often. Here's what we did. We started off looking for more information for this student. We wanted to gather together information about different kinds of librarians. As we know, there's a lot. It's very diverse. Information that he could use to help him decide on an undergraduate degree. And of course, information about library degree master's program, since he would be considering that at some point. And what we found as we started doing this, there are a lot of good resources out there, as you may know, but they're spread out across a lot of different sites. And we also found there are not many resources aimed at or designed specifically for teens and maybe young college students, that group. We also found that some of the resources we came across were a little outdated. There were some broken links. Visually, a lot of these things were unappealing for the age group that we were targeting. So one of the things we did is we created a guide. All of these things that we found, since there wasn't one place for all of them, we decided to create something and bring them together. And we did design them keeping in mind teens, but really it's useful for anybody. It's a lot of fun. If you're thinking about being a librarian, you're already in a library, I think everybody will find it enjoyable and useful. And our focus was on gathering together good information, but also being fun. We want to show that librarians are not all wearing buns and glasses and shushing everybody. We actually can have fun, and being in a library, working in a library actually is a very fun career opportunity. We use LibGuides to create this career guide. We did that as opposed to using software because we're already using LibGuides here on campus at UNC. So we were familiar with how to use it, how it works. We index all of our guides. We have a very nice subject guide, and by using LibGuides, we're able to index this guide with all of our other things. And we want to point out we're not design experts. We did have to work within the parameters of LibGuides, and as you all know, there's some limitations. There are some great things you can do. There's some things you can't do. And we also looked into research done on designing websites for teens and what you need to be aware of. Excuse me. The Nielsen Norman Group research is mostly what we looked at. You can see the URL there at the top, and I think that's one that Barbara shared with you. They did usability studies in the United States and in Australia, and a few of the points on the slide that they found. For teens, you want to write for impatient users. You want to assume that they don't want to read a whole lot. You don't want cluttered screens full of text. You want to have your text in small, meaningful chunks and include a lot of white space. And of course, that applies to all of us. That's not just teens. No boring content. And you want to include interactive features. You don't want your teens to just sit there reading stuff. You want them to be able to do stuff too. And that's what that little quiz, the little image there on the screen, not the little kitty cat, but the other image when you're in charge. So here's a little quiz, a little survey on our guide. And maybe some of you, if you have a thought and you'd like to put it in the chat box. I personally think a nice library collection of Barbie and Ken heads would be very good, but maybe you would rather see plastic sporks, or maybe in your library you already have a really cool collection. So feel free to share any of that in the chat feature. And here we go, another audience participation. Again, using your chat box. If you have ever worked in a library that has career planning resources or any kind of programming specifically for teens, and let's say young college adults as well, if you've done that, let us know. Let us know where, and maybe tell us just a couple of words about that experience. And we're monitoring the chat. Going to give us a few seconds here in case anybody has anything they want to say. Again, it's a small group, so I'm guessing there may not be very much said. And let's see, I'm trying to get my chat up. Okay. So, nope, somebody, William says, no, have not. Answering, I think those are answering Barbara's questions. So, okay, so that's good to know. We're going to move on to the next slide. Thank you all. So again, not quite so, not quite the response on your part. You don't really need to do a whole lot here. We're going to look at our guide. And if you have feedback now, if you have additional content for the guide, anything that comes to mind, feel free to chat. We are going to have our contact information at the end of the presentation. So if you think of something later when you have more time to look at the guide on your own, we would love to get any feedback, whatever it is you want to tell us or share with us. So I am going to attempt to navigate. There we go. This is our guide, and you can see it does, no, I'm sorry. No, Barbara is saying you can't see it. Okay, so let me try. Try doing this and see. Okay, how about now? No? Okay, so hold on. Okay, so hold on a second and let me try something else. I apologize for the inconvenience. If you'll hold on just a second. I'm attempting to reshare. Maybe that'll work. Okay, how about now? Barbara says she can see it, so hopefully everybody else can too. If not, please do use the chat feature and let us know. Here's our guide on wanting to be a librarian. And we started off gathering together just some general information. There's websites, there's books, there's all kinds of resources here that we thought were interesting, that we thought were informative. There's an interesting TEDx video down there at the bottom about how libraries are changing. And we tried to make it colorful and fun. And over here on the left, you can see there's a little joke about libraries. So it's lots of stuff going on there. And we've gathered together some information about education. And I said earlier, this young man was looking for information about how to choose an undergraduate degree. So we found a couple of resources on that and included it, thinking that other people would probably be in the same boat and want to know more about that. And we thought it would be interesting to have something that shows all of the joint dual degree programs out there in library science. And that was partially because this young man was interested in education. And so we thought that might be a good option if somebody offered that. So that's why we put this together. And again, you can see over there on the left, there's some cute, fun stuff. You can make a bookmark in Canva. And Canva, by the way, is the free online program where you can make all kinds of neat graphics and flyers and things like that. And that's what we used for most of the visuals that you see here on the site. Diversity and inclusion is an important part of library science nowadays. So we wanted to make sure that we thought about that, and we brought together some good resources on helping to attract some students from underrepresented groups. And a lot of this, there's a lot of library associations, there's a lot of groups who focus on this, diverse books, library associations, interesting things like the International Children's Digital Library, a lot of things to represent diversity. And again, over on the left side, there are just visually interesting things. Oops, I'm sorry. And a lot of those are links. And we tried to use some cool features. Well, sorry, my screen is jumping around. Well, okay, I won't show that. But we tried to use some cool features to make it fun to play around on here. And there we go. Librarian specialties. As we all know, there are so many different areas of librarianship that you can go into, and I think most people are very unaware how specialized it's become. So we tried to gather together some information on different kinds of librarians, and this is not an exhaustive list. We tried to pick what we thought were some of the more traditional kinds of things and a few of the newer kinds of things. And it's a combination, it's a selection of its library organizations. Sometimes it's an individual librarian's blog. Somebody's posting something interesting, or they're talking about their job and what you should expect if you want to be that kind of librarian. So lots of really good stuff for different kinds of librarians. And again, over on the left, there's lots of interesting things. Here's our little quiz. So you could also go to the guide to take our survey and let us know about potato chips versus Barbie heads, that kind of fun stuff. We've got a link there to Unshelved. Probably a lot of you know about that comic strip. If you don't, it's a lot of fun. You can take a look at that. A little bit more serious survey to find out what people might be thinking about, what kind of librarian would you want to be, and a couple of videos down there at the bottom. And again, just kind of more fun stuff, not really all that informative. And most of this has to do with librarians and library science, but we do also have a bit of information here on information science. Got a couple of videos, we've gathered some links together, job information, some things like that. And this one in particular, if you have some things that you think should be added, we would love to hear from you. We thought, since this young man was very fortunate to have a person that he knew that he could reach out to, not everybody is going to be able to do that, but there are lots of good resources out there to do your own job shadowing, to do your own job shadowing interview. So we put those together to enable folks who are interested to reach out on their own and know what to ask and what to talk about. We all know, here's some journals, some library magazines I'm sure you're familiar with, that are colorful and interesting and really help keep you informed on what's going on nowadays in libraries. And then some other fun kinds of stuff. I believe it was PBS who did the Great American Read. You could go in and vote for your favorite novels, and now they have the list posted. Learning about banned books and challenged books. I find that people often don't even know that that's happening. So it's nice to bring that to people's attention. Article over there, our local library here in Chapel Hill does some artwork associated with banned books. So we've got links to that. And of course, technology is a big deal in libraries and a big deal for most of us, most professions. And young people seem to be interested in technology, so we wanted to make sure and highlight that. So we have links here to lots of different things. You can see a quiz there, some of it's reports, some of it's interesting ways, like here at UNC, how we're using technology. NC State, Harvard, there are some predictions about technology, what libraries are going to look like in the future, all of those kinds of things. They're just kind of fun and interesting. A couple of quizzes over on the left, and there's the video is really cute, especially those of you who are fans of Frozen, the movie from Disney that was out a few years ago. That video there is based on Frozen, and she's singing about bringing back your overdue books. Social media is a big deal for young people. It's also being used heavily in libraries, so we wanted to show that. And we just have a selection there. Again, just like with some of the other things, some of it is from an organization, or it might be from a library, or it might be from an individual librarian. Quiz, and we've got some things about edible books. Lots of libraries are doing that now. We do that here at UNC. There's a couple of others listed down there. Another fun things libraries do. And the last couple of pages are, it's all been fun and colorful, but these are especially fun and colorful and just for fun. We have a selection of libraries there that are very interesting, like the collection of brains at Yale. Probably a lot of you know about that, but they do actually have a collection of real brains. Hunt Library in NC State, probably some of you have been there. It's just a really cool place, a really great library full of wonderful technology. So just some interesting things to point out there. A video about a public library that's doing escape rooms. That's happening a lot now in libraries. A little quiz, tattoos over there on the left. And those are librarian tattoos, librarians with tattoos. And then the last page, and really is just for fun. Again, you see it's nice and colorful, all kinds of interesting things there. The ALA book cart drill team, probably some of you have seen that. If not, there's a video. It's a competition that takes place at the ALA annual meeting every year. It's a lot of fun to see the librarians get out there and be really funny and silly. Clue game, we do that at Wilson here every year. There's a video that tells you how to draw a library. Mr. Potato Head is reading a newspaper. That's an actual online puzzle you can put together. So that gives you, I think, a good selection, a good idea of what all is there. Now I'm going to go back to my slides, and I think I have to do that whole stop sharing and then reshare again. So hang on for just a second while I do that. And we should be back to the slides now. Let's see if I can advance it. There we go. So that's how it started, gathering all this information, and we made a guide. But we decided, here we are on this big campus, lots of libraries, lots of librarians, all kinds of interesting things happening here. So why not have the student talk to more than just us, give him as broad an experience as we can. So we developed a kind of a career day experience where this young man could come and meet with librarians across campus. And as we were organizing this and reaching out to librarians, we were careful to choose a variety of different specialties, and we tried to include also people who were managers at different levels, different stages in their careers. And we also picked people who we knew could showcase what we are referring to here as high appeal services. So Makerspace, which a lot of libraries have now and are really cool. Here at the Health Sciences Library, we have a collection of digital health devices. Immersive panoramic multi-display viewer, which is ours is a Liquid Galaxy. We're going to show you a photo of that in a minute. And of course, we have great special collections with all kinds of cool stuff. So we contacted librarians and got all that organized. We gave them some information on the student, and we gave the student and the librarians some questions in case that was helpful to help them stimulate discussion when they met. And we asked that the librarians talk about their work and also their career paths, how they became librarians. But we did leave it flexible so they could talk about anything that they thought might be of interest to this young man. And the student visited with a total of 6 librarians. Mostly those were 30-minute meetings. A couple of people met for more like an hour. 4 libraries on campus here, and that took place over 3 days. And we all talked about, in general, our jobs and what we do. And in addition, the things that you see here on the slides, we also included in our talks. So Barbara is the liaison there. He was able to actually participate in a seminar class that she was teaching, which was turned out to be a really great experience for him. I gave him a tour of our library here at Health Sciences. And here we have a digital health device collection. I think I mentioned that a moment ago. If you look at the photos on the right, the top one is a PIP stress management device. Now, I don't really know a whole lot about what that is, but I thought it looked really cool. And that is a device that's in our collection. And the whole idea around that is if you are thinking about using one of these devices, perhaps personal use, or it may be in your research, you can come to the library and check something out and get a better feel for what it is and how it works before you make any kind of commitment to purchase something. And we have a science library that has the really cool 3D printer and maker spaces, and that's what that other photo on this slide is, some of the cool stuff they do over there. In our central library, he was able to talk to the head of digital research services, look at the research hub, and here's the Liquid Galaxy I mentioned, that photograph on the right. And I think you can kind of see here, it's a whole bunch of big screens all together to make this huge, great display. And then you sit in front of it with the computer to pull up various things. Just a great visual impact. He was able to talk to our special collections librarian, and she showed him a lot of really cool stuff. The picture there is of medical instruments. We have a nice collection of some very odd, some very scary looking kinds of things. Some things where we aren't even sure exactly what that instrument is for. So we were able to show him that cool stuff here. All right, so you've been listening to me for a while. We're going to do another audience response using our chat box again. If you were hosting a teen who is interested in being a librarian, so he or she is in your library, you're talking to them about library careers, what would you focus on? Do you have any thoughts about what you think might be of interest to a teen or a young adult, college age person as far as library careers? So let's see if anybody, and so Barbara typed the question into the chat box so you can see it. Thank you, Barbara. And Scott's saying definitely the technology. And yeah, I think he's absolutely right. It is very cool and it's only going to grow. And yeah, and Barbara's saying maybe some of the new visualization tools and softwares. Yeah, there is new stuff coming out all the time. That's such a big part of libraries. And I think that is something good to highlight, because I don't know that teens or others really are very aware that libraries are pretty sharp, technologically speaking. We're on the cutting edge a lot of times of things and using a lot of different technologies. All right, so thank you for those responses. We're going to move on, but of course, feel free to continue to add to the chat box if you'd like to. After this experience, we gathered back some feedback. So our librarians, nobody had just a huge amount of feedback for us, but our librarians let us know the student was kind of quiet, and he was a very quiet young man. And they suggested it may have been better to have more than one person, because these were one-on-one discussions. So maybe having another person might have spurred a little bit more discussion. And the student didn't have a whole lot of feedback, but he was so thankful. He really appreciated us doing this, and he enjoyed the experience very much. The student and his mom also wanted to further explore library careers. And in this area, we're very fortunate. There's all kinds of libraries around us. So we gathered information on public, academic, government, in corporate libraries here in our area and gave that to him so he could pursue setting up meetings with some of those folks if he wanted to. And his mom was very pleased. She gave us very positive feedback. She wanted her son to have a broader experience, and I think that's exactly what we gave him. He now knows quite a lot about academic libraries. So what are we doing moving forward? We don't know yet. We have a lot more questions than we have answers. And definitely with this and with all things, we should be thinking about our strategic plan and having that really inform whatever we're doing, whether it's this project or something else. We also need to take time and define our project goals. Again, if we move forward, if we do something else with this, we want to put a lot of thought into this. And we need to think about our resources, things like infrastructure and support. What's available to us? What can we call on to do this really well? And of course, how do we know what need there is in our area? We talked a little bit earlier, we had folks raise their hands if they've ever had a teen or young person contact them about library careers. So it's not really very clear how many people in this area might want to know more about it like this young man. We'd have to find that out. If we move forward, should we look for partners? And if so, who would make a good partner? And we've got a few thoughts down there. I think I mentioned earlier, you probably know we have a School of Library and Information Science here at UNC. We are part of a small network of research libraries in this area. They're the area AHEX. Maybe there are some others that we could partner with. What about our funding? Should we look for external funding sources? And then, of course, evaluation. We want to build in a good assessment piece, and we have to put some thought into how formal do we want it to be, how extensive do we want it to be, what are the main pieces that we're interested in getting some feedback on. And a couple more quick points before we finish up. This particular situation, it was a little bit last minute, so we got this request. It was over the summer, and because the student had some other commitments coming up, and our librarians were already busy getting ready for the next semester, we did have some limited time. So with more time, I think we would make some different adjustments and we would have more time to plan. And we'd probably use a more formal evaluation piece. And again, we did ask everybody just for general feedback. And timing was a bit of an issue here because it was right towards the end of the summer, and it's hard to get our folks to take the time to do much evaluation when they're getting ready for the next semester already. So that's all we have for you. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. You can see the link down there again to our guide. We would love for you to take a look at it and give us feedback. Let us know anything about this you want to share, or if you have other experiences. I think this is being recorded, so maybe there'll be some new folks listening. If you have anything you'd like to share with us about experiences with high school students, with young college-age people, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know. And of course, if you have questions or comments about any of this, you can let us know in the future, or you can use your chat feature to let us know now. And let's see, I'm going to be looking here in the chat feature, and Barbara's going to be helping me to see. Let's see, what are some of our comments? Librarians and popular culture. And we do have, oh yeah, and something about, this is from Scott, about the Transy book heist. Yeah, I don't know enough about that, but yeah, that may not be a good example for recruiting. I don't know, I'll certainly take a look. And we did have a few things in there. We do have a link that gives a list of, I think it was movies that featured librarians or libraries. So we do have a little bit of that, but there are probably some more good things out there that we could include. Yes, and we totally agree with you, Scott, completely about videos. People do seem to like videos a lot, and we have found on other guides, on other websites and things that we've worked on, videos get clicked on a lot. So we have included some videos. Maybe there's some more out there that we can find and put throughout the guide. That does always get a lot of hits. And I think that was about all in the chat. But does anybody else have any comments, questions, anything else they'd like to share? And yeah, Barbara's typing in, and she agrees about the videos, that we do have some, but even more would probably be better. So anybody have anything else? And I don't know, did any of you interact with the little orange cat? Did you make eye contact with him? And if you did, you can let us know that, because the little orange cat would like to know. He doesn't have a name, by the way. We just call him Little Orange Cat. Cute cats. I know. All cats are cute, aren't they? I love cats. And he's on the book, so he's a good library cat. And there actually is, we do have, in some of the more fun stuff on the guide, we do have things about animals in the library. Like so many libraries now, and HSL and across campus here, we're one of them that do pet therapy. And then, of course, there are libraries who are famous for having a cat. So, yeah, so there are some animals in our guide in here. Yeah, we've had miniature horses for pet therapy here. They are very popular. People come year after year after year just to see the horses. I think there are people who are maybe not even really affiliated with UNC anymore who come just so they can see those little horses.
Any other questions for our presenters? Well, if there are no more questions, I want to thank our presenter, our colleagues from UNC, for a lovely presentation. I learned a lot. I think, yeah, in the chat, they have all those links. And of course, they gave the link out to their LibGuide. So thank you to the participants for looking at, for watching and following along. And I think this is the last track. 2 to 3 is the last track in our little virtual conference. So we're done. So thank you for your participation. You know, we do this, it looks like we're doing this more and more. It sort of started a couple of years ago, but now it's sort of become a thing. So I think probably Kellen McAllister will be contacting people about, you know, comments and stuff. So look out for that email. But I guess we're done. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.